kick this off, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Claudia Harry with the Hansen Group, joined with some of my other partners that are also watching and standing by. First, a good afternoon to everyone, and hi from the Hansen Group. This is our first session in a month-long series of all live events for our school nutrition partners. I would have to say our hopes is with each session that you'll see from us throughout the month, you'll walk away with quality ideas for growing your business and new ways to invest in your teams for serving success. Today, we could not be more excited to start and kick off our entire month-long series with Liz Roesel, covering one of our most favorite topics, which is communication in a pandemic. You know, it's odd, Liz, but in a great way. I was attending a QSR conference this morning, and they were talking about quality messaging and what you're getting out to instill trust and confidence, you know, for your customers, for them to want to return. And I think school nutrition has done such a beautiful job along the way. And today we look forward to you helping us fine tune some of those messages that we're getting out there overall. So I think it's going to be a phenomenal session. We're going to learn together. So we're going to get underway. And for everybody that is just joining us, do let us know what county and state you're with. We love to see where you're from. Please have questions for Liz. And oh, by the way, one CEU. So thanks for doing that, Liz, and SNA. We're forever grateful. So Liz, it's all you.
Yes, I'm a little behind the scenes. I submitted it for CEU approval 2 days ago, and they already turned it around and sent it right over for approval this afternoon. So at the end of the session, you'll get a survey, and just fill out that quick survey. That's an SNA requirement. Fill that out, and we'll get you that CEU certificate. So thank you so much, Claudia and the Hansen Group, for allowing me to be a part of this. It's been a while since I've hosted a webinar. We did 3 in the spring, which was a lot of fun, but I'm really excited to do this because I've been teaching education sessions at conferences. I was at ANC 2019 and was slated for ANC 2020, but I've done these for a few years now, and this is very, very special to me because with C-Level Social, what we do is we help districts with their marketing, with their social media marketing, and in a lot of cases, we handle it for them. And so now what you're really going to, you might have, if you've seen one of my previous sessions, you might have heard marketing tips, and I always focus them to school nutrition, but now you're really going to see hard data, things that have worked with clients that we've been working with. So it's no longer any kind of speculation or room for any kind of interpretation because this is what's happening in school nutrition right now. So I'm really excited for you all to hear this. If you have any questions, just put them in the chat. I'll keep a close eye on that. And in addition to receiving a CEU, this session will be recorded. And I believe Claudia will follow up at a later date with where the recording will be. But the big reason why the recording might be helpful is I do not love PowerPoint. I don't want to sit and watch somebody speak over a PowerPoint for an hour. So I will be live in Facebook and in Canva showing you these tips. It's not anything that you could just download a PDF or a PowerPoint and say, okay, I've got the information I need. So I'm glad you're here with me live to ask those questions, but that recording might be useful for you at a later date. Alrighty, so with that, I will do a little bit of PowerPoint. I hate it, but I'm going to do it. It's a necessary evil. So what I will get here, of course, it's hiding some things from me from all of the, there we go. So not just marketing tips, but communication tips during a pandemic. Why during a pandemic, you'll be able to see on my next slide. And if you're not familiar with who I am, I'm Liz Roesel with C-Level Social. We launched in January, just before a pandemic hit, no worries. And again, all we care about is marketing and school nutrition. So everything that we do is focused with school nutrition only, and we help them, especially with social media. So these are not my assumptions. These are actual questions that we've had from parents to our clients. So are you going back to feeding kids like you did in the summer? Why do I need to fill out a meal application when meals are free? I don't need these meals. I can afford to feed my own children? Do my kid, now that if you're doing curbside, do my kids need to be there with me to receive meals? A really big one is that I found was once the curbside delivery or curbside service was finalized, we heard from a lot of our clients, or parents from our clients, was I don't have time to get to the school to pick up those meals and get back so that my virtual student can be back in class on time. And changes had to be made. So I will not go back to March 13th, 2020. We've all heard that. We know what happened. But specifically since school started, there have still been so many changes. And parents don't know where to go to get information. They're overwhelmed. They just need to know, what do I need to do to ensure that my child is fed, whether they're learning virtually or they're in school? How safe are they if they are learning or they're in school and they're eating in the cafeteria? These are all things parents are asking, which is great for you because that means you've got a captive audience. They are coming to you for information. So what I've been trying to do with our clients and what I'm going to show you today is, how can you take all of these changes and all of these convoluted things, like processes that are in place, and simplify it so that parents can understand it, so they can share it with their friends and family members and people in the community, and that ultimately you can just feed more kids. Because if it's too confusing for parents to figure out or the students to figure out, then they're just going to say, forget it, I'll just pack my lunch, or I'll skip, or I'll go out and grab something. So that's what today's discussion is really all about. Okay. So there's two parts to this session. And the first one is crafting the most effective message. You're going to notice that I definitely lean towards the social media space. I'm going to talk a lot about communicating on social media, but the same rules apply, whether you're making a flyer or you're writing an email, putting an email newsletter together, putting it on your website. I want you to still apply those, what we talk about today, to any form of marketing medium, okay? So what you see on the screen on the left is our good friend and client, Michael Clark, over at Crane School District in Yuma, Arizona. This is what happened, everybody. For 1 week only, they had parent-teacher conferences and other events happening at the schools. And so if that was happening on top of curbside service, there would have been literally a traffic jam, which I use traffic jam because it's a food pun and I'm a sucker for a pun. But it would have been far too much for parents to handle everything else going on at the school plus curbside. So for 1 week only, at different schools were different pickup times. So he sent me this email on a Saturday night and said, Liz, we've got to get this out here, or it was Friday night. We've got to get this out here as soon as possible. These are now the pickup times at those specific days. And you can see in the middle that for 4 schools, there's different pickup times for Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday versus Wednesday. And then you've got a couple other schools that have different times. That's confusing. I had to read it a couple of times to make sure that I understood how it was working. So how am I going to communicate that to parents on behalf of his program on social media? Because we manage his Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So on the right is I made a flyer for him because he needed a flyer as well to put at all the schools. And this is a post that went on Facebook. So you're going to see that these are things, I want you to know my process and understand how I got to there. We had 3 different kind of sections here with the 3 different schools and different pickup times. So that's where I thought of the 3 sections that look like roads. Whenever we approach these kinds of graphic flyers or graphics for social media, I try to think of what's the theme here. It's not just about food. It's about, we're sorry that things have to change for 1 week, but we promise it's for your best interest. We want to avoid you being stuck in a lot of traffic, and that's why we're doing it. So I did that on purpose to get some empathy from parents. Okay, I want them to understand this was not just, we want to confuse you and throw a wrench in the program. This is to help you. So I started it with Crane School Nutrition wants to help you avoid a traffic jam. And that's where I used the images of the road and adjusted curbside service just for those dates. Okay, so those are just, I want you to kind of understand how we came up with that graphic, which again was a flyer. When I do design flyers, I like to think if they're going to print this in color and how many copies are they going to print. I try not to use a lot of dark ink on it just so that they're not running through ink like crazy. But it worked really well as a flyer as well. What else are we going to look at? Designing professional infographics. So this is the second part of the session. And if you are on social media, you have been seeing some amazing infographics making their rounds the past month, especially. The one on the left, school lunch versus school lunch boxes, or lunch boxes rather. And then on the right, it's more than just free meals. So the one on the left was one that we made for one of our clients at Lawrence in South Carolina. And on the right was for Coweta County, Keisha Williams over in Coweta County in Georgia. So why we made these for our clients. There were graphics that were made that were generic, black and white text, didn't have a logo, and that's fine. That is fine. In a pinch, if that's what you can share and you've got time to do it, great. Share it. It's still good information. You didn't design it. If you have permission to share it, share it. But with so many school nutrition programs are doing, and what we're doing for our clients is you're building a brand. You know, you're trying to create, when you can, a restaurant feel for your students. You know, you're wanting to offer customized menu items. You're wanting the best for your clients. And so you want to put your best foot forward. So why I thought this was such a great, and when Claudia asked me, hey, would you like to do a session? I said, I think this could help everyone right now, is making these graphics, but making them custom to you, number one. And number two, making them look so professional. I just want to make sure that you've got it as tightened up and sharp looking as possible. So I'm actually going to go through creating one of these graphics, and then I'm going to show you how to post it on social media and get the most people to see it. Okay, so that's what we're going to look at today. You're going to see it from start to finish. I actually have my test all ready to go, or my demo rather. So some things I want to point out while we're on the screen is, again, on the left, you can see it on the circle on the left under school lunch. That's the department's logo, the school nutrition department's logo. So that graphic has their color scheme. It has the fonts choices that they chose. Exact same with the right from Keisha's at Coweta, her graphic. That's her brand, her colors, her fonts, and everything looks uniform across the board, okay? So that's what we're gonna do, is making sure that when you do create these things, they look sharp, all right? So some tips, and then we'll get out of PowerPoint. So some tips on crafting the most effective message. Simplify it. This definitely applied when it was August 31st, when the USDA waivers were released, and then we could go switch back to SFSP. There were, I'm not naming names, and everybody's doing an amazing job on social media, but think about if you were to share the news that now all children get to now eat for free, just like in the summer. If you shared it and said, there's a USDA waiver flexibility that now allows us to serve on the SFSP model, parents do not know what that means. People that are in the industry probably still struggle with what that means, right? So we don't want to speak over them. We want to simplify it. So on the right is what I whipped up really quick for Lawrence 56. We wanted that message out soon, right? As fast as possible. So we'd just gotten done with summer. So I said, we chose the phrase, free meals for all children is back. They were used to it. They had seen that message multiple times. They knew what that meant. So it's back, everyone. It's free breakfast and lunch. This is the curbside service. It was even the locations and times that they had during the summer, I believe. And then now in school will also be free. So try to avoid terms that your audience doesn't understand. Bounce it off of a friend or a spouse that's not in the industry and ask them, does this make sense to you? It doesn't hurt at all, okay? So simplify. Shorten it. Okay, so think about, again, flyers. You're walking around, if you're a parent, we're walking through the school, what's gonna stop and catch your eye? And are you gonna stop and read a flyer with a ton of text on it? You're certainly not going to stop and read a ton of text on social media for the most part. That's pretty rare. Keep things brief and keep the details. If you need a lot of detail to expand, keep that on your website and instruct people to go there for more details. So for example, this on the right is a post that we did for Lawrence 56. Let's just say there were more details that maybe parents might like to know. After I put that caption, I might say, visit our website for more information with the link. Let them go there. But what do they really truly need to know? Curbside pickup, how many meals? Mondays at that location. And I see that there's a typo there now too. That's just catching my eye. But that's okay. So we have, and then in the caption, we have just the details. Keep it brief, everybody, okay? And then also reminders do not hurt. So think about it this way. Your audience does not see every single announcement you make. I don't care if it's a flyer, your website, email, every person doesn't see every update. So reminders are important. Don't think that you are spamming them or bothering them, or you're not. In fact, I used to think that way, and I have shifted my thought. I used to think I'm not going to spam these people. I shifted my thought process to I'm showing up for my audience. I'm making sure that they're informed. Everything I'm giving them is helpful information. I'm educating them, or I'm entertaining them, one or the other, right? So frequency is key, and reminders are great. What you see on the right, this is something we started at C-Level Social. It was the first week of football season, and in my house, everybody was on the couch watching football, but they were also on their phones, scrolling through social media. So I said to my business partner, I was like, Ariane, we've got to start doing reminders on Sundays starting at 1 o'clock. So we do post reminders on the weekends for everyone, because we might be capturing an audience that might not see our stuff during the week. So try that out. Again, on the right, you're going to see that things are laid out nice and pretty. We've got arrows to point you to where you need to take action. But reminders, not a problem. Do them. In fact, keep them coming. And when you don't know, I love this one, when you don't know what to say. So this was one of our clients up in Massachusetts. She said, the waivers went through, yes, but I am waiting on my state agency, and I don't know when I'm going to have an update. She was just on pins and needles. And I said, that's all right. We're going to tell them updates are coming soon. Stay tuned. So why is this important? It doesn't have parents wondering, well, what's going to happen to I don't know what's going to happen with meal service. Are they feeding kids? Are they not? If they hear about it from a neighboring district, if they go to you and you don't have anything on your website or on your social media, they think you're not doing anything about it. They're going to draw the worst conclusion, right? So we're getting proactive here, and we're saying, no, don't worry. Updates are coming soon, we promise. Also, it's a great opportunity to say, stay tuned to our social media for more updates. If you are using social media, it's a great way to get them to follow you on all 3 platforms if they're there. Nothing wrong with a stay tuned post. The minute, if any, when we hope the waivers are extended, head over to anywhere you're marketing and say, we are on it, and stay tuned for more. So at least if they come to you, they're not going to feel like you've forgotten about them. All right, so let's get out of here, everybody. Oh, sorry, we'll share my screen, but just share Facebook instead. Okay, so I'm going to give you some tips on crafting a really clean message. Then we're going to hop over to Canva, and then we're going to do all of it together. I'm going to create a graphic and put it on social media. Okay, and I will try to be a little bit quicker because I see we're already 20 minutes in. So this was the same mention that I did before about avoiding a traffic jam. That was a little bit convoluted of a message. So I want to point out a couple of things we did here. This was the graphic that we made and kept it simple and short and sweet in the caption because really the information needed was in the graphic, and tagged all of the schools because the schools have Facebook pages. We tagged all the schools and we tagged the district. Why is this important? Because once they get that notification that we tagged them, most of them share it, and then we'll get, or at least they see our stuff frequently. If they'll share it, then we get more eyes on the post. Okay. Also, why is this important? We always tag the location on our posts because if you're on social media anyway, if you're tagging your location, then social media is going to recommend other people in your area to follow you. You might see it on Instagram, on Twitter, pages you might want to follow, and that's why. So always tag your location, tag those schools, and keep this brief. Now, why do I say to keep it brief? I'll show you an example. On my own personal Facebook page, I posted this graphic that it was for C-Level Social on my page with the information about the webinar and the link to register. Okay. Now, when I share it, there's my name. And when I share it, look what happened to that caption. It got buried underneath, and I have to see more to see all of it. It got buried. Okay. So that's why I still wrote this almost similar information. I wrote it out again. So stay with me if you're new to social media, but this is why I did that. Think about it. If someone was to share this post, all that most people see is the graphic. They're not going to see that caption because that caption gets buried underneath it. So I want you to put your most important information on any graphics you make for social media. But therein lies the struggle of, but I have way too much to say and it's too much. And how do I put it all on this graphic? That's what you're going to see towards the end of the session. Okay, that's what I'm actually going to show you. So just keep that in mind. I would hate for this graphic to say new curbside meal service and then all of that information be in here. Because when people share it, all they see is new curbside meal service and they have to go digging for the information in the caption. Okay, that's a little pro tip for social media there for you. And then we have another one I wanted to show you on simplifying was Dothan City Schools, another client of ours. They have obviously different things for face-to-face or virtual learners. One thing that we saw from them overwhelmingly was parents were confused about curbside service, and if I sign up, then I have to do it every single day, Monday through Friday, and come to the school, which of course was not the case, just come when you can. So here's a pro tip for you. What we did was we made a graphic with a very, very, very simple 4-question FAQ. If you're signing up for meals, what do you need to know? Where to go? How often do I need to fill out the form? The big one was what happens if I miss a day? And what if I only want to pick up once or twice a week and I know it? So we created this and put the link to sign up. The curbside days are here and there's all the locations. And then we pinned it to the very top of their page so that if someone shows up, they can hopefully see that. And we can really try to minimize parent questions, calls, emails. We want to get ahead of this. So again, think of things out of the box. We never would have thought we'd have to do a remote learner meal sign-up form FAQ, but the parents were demanding it. So if you are getting a lot of questions about one specific thing, make a very brief, simple graphic, and there you go. You can hopefully deter future questions. All right. And then I've already used that one as my example. So now we're going to pop back over to the PowerPoint. Got the taction. Okay, perfect. And you're going to see me actually craft a whole social media caption as well. So designing professional infographics. And let me verify that it doesn't look like we have any questions. So we love Canva. I love Canva because it's very easy if you're not a graphic designer. Any school nutrition professional can use it. We've talked about it for quite a few years. So if you're using it, I hope you'll find I know you'll find some tips here today, but if you're brand new to it, you're kind of getting a little bit of an intermediate advanced course today on some little tricks. So Canva there is a free version. We use the Pro version because we have so many districts that we work with. So there's some functionality there that helps us, but if you are at one district, the free version has everything you need, I promise. And it's not terribly expensive for the Pro. There are templates you can use. You can upload your own images, upload your own photos of your team, of your food, and use that to make infographics. And again, like I said, it's extremely, extremely user-friendly. The one link that I'm going to show you, I want you to write this one down. Is this little short URL will redirect you to it. It's a tool I'm going to show you to find your color codes. I've used this in previous sessions if anyone's attended another session of mine, but it's one of those that everybody gets a nice big light bulb over their head and they're like, I love that tool. So you know how I showed you Keisha at Coweta's flyer and Lauren's 56 flyer, how it was nicely branded and used their color palette, use their color palette. That's how I want all of your stuff to look. I don't want you to use, out there hot pink and, navy blue if your district colors are, green and gold. I want you to build your brand and, if your department colors are. So you all make sense in just a moment. I want to show you a couple other examples of things we made. And again, I'm trying to explain the strategy behind it. On the left is the Edgefield version of the same one that we did for Coweta. Again, we swapped out the colors. We used their logo. And I want you to just take note of how much there is in that infographic. There's a lot of content, but yet it's cleanly laid out. It's easy to follow. And a couple things that you'll see here is my 2-font rule. I want you to only use 2 fonts. Anything that you make in Canva, when you start having 3-4 fonts, it just starts to look a little messy. So you'll see that like where it says healthy team members, the top left, and then daily temperature checks, those are our 2 fonts that we stuck with through the whole thing. And then you see all of the icons all look similar too. I'm going to show you a tip on that. We don't want icons that are completely different in design because they fight each other. I'll show you that in person, but just kind of make note of that. And then on the right, I thought this was a really great post that I wanted to share with all of you. One of our clients had just a time with parents not being very patient with them. So we thought, how are we going, in all of our communications to parents, we always ended it with, thank you for your patience and support as we navigate serving children in the cafeteria, classroom, and curbside. That was our recurring, anytime we responded to a question, we wrapped it up with that. And we were hoping that that would kind of remind them that, wow, they are serving meals in 3 locations. That seems like, that could be a lot. So what you see on the right is a graphic we made for Lawrence County District, or Lawrence 56. They actually added another spot at the YMCA, so we added another little pinpoint. But this post was strictly to thank parents for their support and their patients as they navigate serving so many different, in so many different ways. So it's, again, not a bad thing to put out there on social media. And again, you see it's all branded using their color palette. Every color you see in their logo is represented on that graphic. So that's the kind of stuff you're going to see. Alrighty, so I will just double check that we don't have any questions and make sure, sorry. How's everybody feeling? All right, sorry, I'm on my own Zoom here and I can't seem to find, oh, it's because I'm sharing my screen. So sorry, let me pop over here and just make sure there's nothing in the comments. Okay, there's not, sorry about that. Okay, if you have any questions at all, just put them in the comments. We are halfway through and everything else I'm going to show you is very, very hands-on. Okay. All right, so what we have here, go. Discuss those. All right, so what I'm going to walk you through next is creating a graphic and then putting it on social media. Again, same rules apply if you're making a flyer or putting it on your website. But we have one of our clients, they have breakfast in the classroom, which their breakfast menu is not published. There have been a lot of substitutions, so they're not publishing the breakfast menu. But the lunch menu is different for elementary and then for middle and high. So what we do is, again, reminders don't hurt. You can't depend on parents to go and look at your menu at the beginning of the month and then they remember where they found your link, or they remember what's on the menu, or they're printing it out, or if you're not offering those printouts right now, this has been really helpful. And it doesn't hurt to remind them this is what's coming up on your menu. So every week we make a graphic for their social media that says, here's what's on the menu next week. Okay, so if we were to post that, that could get kind of confusing because we've got different menus at elementary and different at middle and high. Also, if we made that post with those links and somebody was to share it, sharing is really big. Our goal is to always get people to share our stuff. If people were to share it, they'd have to find that caption buried and with the links buried in there, and they wouldn't be able to see all of the great stuff you have. Whereas, I'll give you an example. If you're a parent and you saw this, you know what's coming up on next week's menu. Okay, versus me saying, can you go over to our website and then click on this link and then find this link and then you can look at the menu. This is right there in front of them. They don't have to go anywhere else. They can stay right on Facebook, keep on scrolling, and they know what's on your menu. Okay, so we're gonna make one of these, but we're going to try to simplify it because it's going to be kind of complicated for parents. So as you can see, there's different menus. So what I did was, let's split my screen here. Oh, did I accidentally close out Canva? I'm going to split my screen. Don't look at my messy desktop. It's indicative of everything going on, right? Okay. So I want to make a graphic, a flyer, whatever, and whatever you need, insert whatever medium you prefer, and it's going to have to mention all students eat free. There's also breakfast in the classroom. Don't forget, if your child is virtual, curbside pickup is Mondays from 11:30 to 12:30. And here's our menu. It's different for elementary and high school. My gosh, well, it's a lot to communicate, but parents, again, let's remember, parents are clamoring for information from you. They want those updates badly, and you want to show up for your audience, and you want to post that, and you want to post it frequently, okay? So that's what we're going to do. So Canva, if you have not used Canva, I put the link in the chat, rather. I put a link to a demo that I made using Canva for school nutrition professionals. It is very, very basic, very quick. But I put that, it's on our YouTube channel, so I put the link there. If you're using something else, a lot of the tips I'm going to share with you will still completely apply if you're not using Canva and you use something else. I know PictoChart's pretty popular, and Adobe Spark. If you're using something else, these tips will still help you, I promise. And then if you have been using Canva, then this is a little bit of a, oh, I didn't know Canva did that kind of session, okay? So, alrighty, so we'll get started. So in Canva, and actually let me make Canva a little bit bigger for you, especially for those of you that have not used it before. So in Canva, you've got templates that you can use, but for the sake of time, we're jumping right into a design, everybody. But don't worry, I'm always here if you have questions after the fact. So we're going to create a design, and I'm going to make a Facebook post. We always resize everything to fit that platform. A photo that looks good on Facebook might not look good on Twitter, and a Twitter post certainly doesn't look good on Instagram. And if you make a flyer, and I know we've probably seen this, if you made a flyer, like an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and you put that on Facebook, how tiny is that text? And you can't always see it very well. So that's why we do resize things to make it fit that platform so that parents can see it without having to try to zoom in on their phone. Think about it. A lot of people are on smartphones. They're not on a desktop. This is a Facebook post. So I have quite a bit of information here that I want to share, but the bulk of it that's going to take up a lot of real estate are the two menus. So I've got elementary and middle. So I'm going to copy and paste my text over. And this is a biggie, everyone. So I'm seeing it happen a little bit on Facebook, is the font size. I want you to at least stay on 14-point font. Don't make it smaller than 14. Your audience will have to zoom in, and you don't want to make it an extra step for them, or they're going to just say, forget it. You have to give them everything on a silver platter so that there's no confusion. Okay, so we have elementary, and that's 15-point is fine. And then we've got our middle and high schools, has a totally different menu. Okay, if you're new to Canva, you're probably looking at this like, what is she even doing? Okay. So we've got two pieces here, and then I have some information up top. I'm going to throw all this information on there, and then I'm going to make it pretty. So we have our October 19th through the 23rd is the menu. And here are some points that we want to make sure that we include. All students eat free. There's breakfast in the classroom and curbside pickup. All right, we are done with that. Let's get that back here. Okay. So what I like to do when you have a lot of text is try to not have a lot of imagery that's going to compete on the eyes. So let me show you an example. If I went to look for a food background, there are some beautiful like collages, there's these icons, there's one here of fruit. If I was to make that the background, we are going to be fighting with the text. Even if I make it transparent, that makes it more difficult to read the text. Does that make sense? Like, you really want it to be easy on the eyes for the parents. So I might use this, but I'm gonna hide it over here for just a little bit. Let's focus on making this as simple as possible, okay? So when you're looking, let's see, we had it at Open Sans is their font that they like to use. So I'm always going to use the font. I almost always use the font choices that district uses. It helps build their brand. Think about if you saw a McDonald's cup that didn't have the golden arches for the M and it had the gold text. You know, if you saw the McDonald's logo all of a sudden had something different, you'd be like, what happened here? So I do try to stay within those, that brand. It's part of a brand guide. And then the other font that they like, oh, I'm sorry, Ariane's on the call and she knows which one it is. Just for sake of demo, I'll use a different one. We'll do lobster, but I know that's not it. Ariane will go back and fix this for me later. So we have, there's our 2 pieces here, and we've got it at 15. So let's see, that's 15. I'm making sure that these are the same size because I don't want them to look off center. Those are both 15. Okay. So this is a trick I want to show you, especially those that have already used Canva, you might not realize. So I don't want to see that anybody that attended my session ever put a menu out like this and it's off center. Okay. I want it to look professional. You are all becoming graphic designers today. So here's some things I want you to note. As I hover over here, do you see that a pink purplish line appeared and is now centered with the text on the left? See that? So now I know that this is centered with this. Now I want to center this horizontally. So I click both of them and click group, and look at that. I just made this nice group. They all move together. So now when I move, I've got this nice pinkish purple line that centers it perfectly for me. So that helps make sure that what I'm putting out there for our clients looks professional. It's not anything's off center. It doesn't look like it was haphazardly thrown together. But see how simple that was. It was just selecting and group. If you ever need to ungroup it, you can ungroup it right there. Now, this is still a lot of text. All right. Whew. Let's try to break this up a little bit. So in Canva, you can create all of these different, you can use all these different colors. The whole color wheel right here for you. With the Pro account, I can create these colors schemes for different school districts. That's only the Pro account. It's not the free account. But again, you won't need to have multiple accounts here, or multiple colors. So what I'm going to do is quickly create some background to kind of make these look a little different so that they stand out completely separate and it doesn't all blur together. So I've got Lauren's actually has like their reds and greens are their color palette. So I can click that and check out what happened here. I want you to pay attention to the center. Do you see in the middle, right, but where like October 19th is, the 19, there's now this line down the middle. That's the very center of my document. Nothing's going to be off center in this. So I've got that. I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to put it over here. And I'm going to make that a different color. So now I've got color blocking to make it very obvious that there's an elementary and a middle high. We're going to put that position towards the back. So now we got the text in front. And actually, we're getting a little close. Let's move that over. There we go. Center that. Okay. It's actually still a little bit too close to that edge. I don't like that. So what I'm going to do is ungroup it. So we're going to center it based on this red background. So I hope you can see that we're going to click that red background, put it right on the canvas, and then it's going to help me center it right there. So now I've centered it based on the canvas, okay? Now that black on red, you can't read it. I want you to just think about that. Like, how easy is it for me to read this? And how much easier is, let's see. That's okay. Let's try it with the red. I'm always going to stay in their color palette. That's only all right. I want to play around with these colors until I get it where parents are going to be able to easily read this. White on a dark color is much better. Look how much cleaner I can read that. I also want to make this a little larger. There we go. Do we see how that looks better? Okay. You could also make the dates of the week bold so they stand out a little more from the rest of the week, because you've got a lot of information here, okay? All right, so as we go about that, I want to also point out that you might get stuck with Look at the word, this is something where I'm very, very picky, but again, I want this to look professional. Look how on Tuesday, you've got your menu here, and then it's like veggie, and then cup is down here by itself. I hate that. We want it to be on the same line so that you don't have this one random word that's stuck there. So let's click and drag that, make it a little bit, so they're all on the same. Here we go. I don't mind veggie cup at the bottom being on its own, but alrighty. And then I still like this little background, and I like having the fruits there to be representative of the fact that this is school nutrition. Obviously, we try to use the fonts as much as possible, so we're going to put that but towards the background, and they're not fighting with each other as much. So now, quickly just show you how we'll, let's see, grouping items. We talked about 14 font was the lowest, or is the smallest, 14-point font. And then I'm going to show you spacing. So this is another Canva little hack, especially if you've used it, that I really only started using as of late. So if you look at this, this does look tiny. We can do 16 font for all of it, and it's still big enough. Oops, not 116, 16. So we have all students eat free. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Breakfast in the classroom daily. Curbside pickup is on Mondays from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. So we want that because, again, if people are going to take this graphic and then share it with their friends, all the information they need is really right there. If they need to see the curbside pickup, you can put that in the caption and they'll look for that, but they might not even realize curbside pickup is there. But something I want to show you, it's our last little kind of hack here, is let's just say, I'm gonna, again, we're doing the 2 fonts, right, everybody? So this needs to be the Open Sans. Make sure I have, and I'm gonna put this font to be that elementary and middle and high school's font so that they mimic each other and complement each other. All right, so now you see how that looks better versus if I had a whole nother wacky font in there, then it would just look a little disjointed. Now we've actually got some, it's uniform, all right? So one thing that's kind of neat is, see if I can get it to work here. All right, I'm gonna line up the text. I'm lining it up to be at what's at the bottom too. So see how my text lines up to where that curbside is? So now it just looks more like it's justified to either side. Similarly, I'll show you a little trick. Click enter so that you start a whole new line from here to here. Click enter so it's a whole new line. Come over here, highlight the first line, go up here to spacing. Oh, it's a little bit, it's all kind of in its own way, but you can space it out, or you can make it go a little wider. There it is. So now I'm making it wider, so now it's justified on both sides. Do you see how everything being the same width apart on either side looks a lot cleaner? Okay, and you have to make it look clean because there's way too much text on this graphic. There's so much text, but you need it to be because you're sharing this menu, okay? We have a question, let's see here. Oh, Claudia said so clean looking, right? So I love separating that text. Similarly, when you enter, you click enter, you're able to kind of manipulate just this line. If I hadn't done that, if I had not clicked enter, and I tried to make this wider, or I'm sorry, it would have done all of it. That's why it was so important to click enter for that line break, okay? You can also make text wider and further apart between lines. We use that every now and then too. So let's undo what I've just messed up my own stuff. There we go, so it's much cleaner. So you see how now I've got a lot of content shared in one graphic that hopefully looks so much cleaner that then they can now share it. They're not having to direct people a way to their website, because think about it, how often are people on social media or they see a flyer and they see the link to your website? They're not going to go, oh, let me get my phone and bring up your district website. They want the information right there in front of them, and now it all is. Okay. The last thing, and I'll take questions, is I should have put, Ariane's probably watching this and being like, why didn't you put their logo? Put your logo there as often as you can. So what I will do, and this is actually a great example, so maybe I'm demoing it. I'm not forgetting, I'm just demoing it. We're going to put the logo in here, and we're going to center that with everything else. So let's put their logo a little smaller. I'm going to make sure that it is the same, the same height as everything else. It is. Let's move it over a little bit and let's group it together. So everything is now, we've got, that's the, see how the apple starts there, at the bottom starts there. So let's select it all, let's group it, and let's center it. Look at that. That was so much easier to group everything together and center it. So now the logo's there, all the information they need is in one spot, okay? You can use this with any kind of information that you have. This one has way more text than we're used to, so you kind of got a crash course here. But again, you just step back, ask a friend to look at it, and you'll be, you know, get some fresh eyes on there. So I will, with that, kind of wrap up what we have here with some other freebies that I have and resources. Here we go. On SeaLevelSocial.com, we have quite a few freebies that we started creating as soon as COVID hit. We were like, all right, how can we, help everybody out at this time? So there are an infographic lunch tray right there in the middle has been very popular. We make an infographic that's on a lunch tray or on a bag if some people wanted it for curbside, but it's completely branded for your department. So if you fill out that form and you ask for it, we go hunt down your district or your department logo. We make it look pretty just for you, and then you can share it on social media or on your website. We have some people that put it on their website. It's a nice place to share like monthly stats or annual stats even, or we've had some that have said, let's share the stats for how many meals we served since COVID hit. We can do custom Google Maps if you have serving sites, a survey, coloring sheets. We have lots of coloring sheets and plenty of things there. We're always adding to it as well. And then this is actually, this is my favorite resource. It's funny that I actually put that there. So head over to our YouTube channel. An easy way to find it is to go to tinyurl.com/SeaLevel Facebook hacks. So if you are on social media, if you're looking to get more followers, these videos, as you can see, are 2-3 minutes long, and they're very short little snippet tips to how to engage more people, get more followers. It's a lot of fun putting these all together. So definitely head over there. And then these are a couple other places. Let me check my chat really quick. Oh, Cleta asked about logos. Any tips for resources? So you can actually make a logo in Canva. You can make a logo there. If you want, SeaLevel Social will do one for, we've got some pandemic pricing going on, so we can make one for you, no problem. What I like to do with logos is ask yourself, do you have a tagline? Like, what kind of tagline do you want? Do you want, that you want to put forward? When people see it, what do you want them to think? What emotions do you want them to feel? We designed some logos. The one for Edgefield County School Nutrition, we designed that one for them to mimic the district logo. They wanted it to mimic the district logo, so we made it work, but had a knife and a fork on it instead of, and it was a plate rather. We had a plate, and it looked very much like the district logo, and they loved that. So we can help you with a logo. Canva has options to kind of design your own logo if you want to play around with it, but we can certainly help you with that as well, and for next to nothing. These are a couple other places that you can find more resources from me. I co-host the School Nutrition Masterminds meetups with Ashley Marina from Project School Nutrition. We turn that also into a podcast. It's on Apple and Spotify and Google. It's called School Nutrition Masterminds, where we interview 2 school nutrition professionals, everything down from from, or anything from managers all the way up to Miss Nancy Rice, which is funny. I chose this one given that this is a Georgia event. I didn't mean to do that actually, but Miss Nancy Rice was on here as well. So everyone, all school nutrition professionals are on here, and they're so much fun and they're so different. This is on Facebook. If you go to Facebook, just search School Nutrition Masterminds, it's a group. And also Current Halls of Ingenious Culinary Concepts and Joe Pettit. And I host it's a motivational series for school nutrition professionals. And that's every Sunday at 5 o'clock. We go live on Joe Pettit Inspires, and it's all, again, for school nutrition. So with that, there's my contact information and my reminder to put the link for the survey to get your CEU certificate in the chat right now. If you have any questions, I know I went a lot of places today. I know I shared a lot of tips, and if you weren't familiar with Canva, you might have been like, what did I just watch? But we will certainly, I'm here at any time for questions for you afterwards. I'm always here after. So with that, let me put the link in the chat, and I will turn it over to Claudia to wrap us up.
Liz, thank you so much. Everybody, gosh, there were so many great takeaways, Liz. Frequency is key. I think for myself, just with social media, I could be posting a little bit more, and definitely from a business side, you've just kind of revolutionized some thought processes. I always thought that most important was my logo, but thanks for showing us that font colors and font choices are just as important. Again, Liz, thank you for your time and everything you've poured into the Hansen Group for our first venture into bridging the gap virtually for GSNA. Please follow C-Level Social if you're not already on Facebook and all the other social media outlets. The same thing for the Hansen Group, because if you follow the Hansen Group, you're going to see what we're doing all month long, which I'm super excited about. Sneak peek for next week is next Tuesday, our next live event. You'll be coming, I guess you'll be here with us at the Hansen Group at our office for Let's Get Sanitized. And if you're thinking of Olivia Newton-John and Let's Get Physical, not quite the same thing, but we're gonna have a ton of fun live with Dave Schweffler from the Hansen Group, where we're gonna talk about sanitation, where just what are some tactics that can build trust, what are ways we can communicate, how we're adding in different levels of disinfecting along the way to show our families that we're ready for you to come back to school 100%. So again, Liz, thank you. Everybody, thank you for your time. Follow us on social media and follow us for the rest of the month of October. We cannot wait to see you again. And I've got all your names, so everybody's in the hopper for our end of the month drawing for a Cambro Flex cart from Cambro. So thanks, Liz.
All right. Thank you, Claudia, and thank you, everybody, for your time today. I really appreciate it. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend.